Jani, first, thank you so much for making time to speak with me. Happy New Year and congratulations with the way things have been going with 2020 and kind of a little bit so far with 2021. It's great to hear some good news, something that has happened with you and something with a great organization, Actra. What is going on with your life right now as we speak and the honor that you had received?
Wow. It is a great honor. I volunteered for my organization. Actra is a nonprofit organization. It's run by its members, and I've volunteered for our membership on behalf of our membership for over 20 years with the organization, looking at, inclusivity and really, whatever that means in our industry, in our crazy industry. But, and I certainly was, standing on the shoulders of many who came before me, like Sandy Ross and Rita Deverell, and people who, really started to take up that, bring awareness to those issues as early as 1984 within the organization. So, I'm aware that a lot of, a big part of the award is for my, what we call activism. And also honoring the screen-based media that I have done, and also a lot of my puppet work. So it's just great to be recognized for a combination of things that add up to this really amazing experience.
Definitely is. And do you call it experience? Because this is a lifetime experience. I would put lifetime into that, because reading up on your bio and everything that you've done, you did it, and I use this term with the respect because I use it for myself. You did it old school. You learned it the hard way. And it's something that I kind of feel like we're sort of missing these days, in having somebody who basically can do it all. And that's what you learned and you did. The arts, though, what was it about the arts that attracted you so much to it?
No, I had my biological parents were both really creative. Like, my dad was a visual artist and he played piano, and my biological mother was also very creative. She was constantly making things with her hands, like just really, and she often talked about creative energy coming through her body that she didn't know how to turn off, which I thought was really interesting. And then my foster parents were also theater people. So when I went into foster care, I was nurtured to, by them to believe that being an artist was simply something that you could do. And if you wanted to do it, you should. And, I was so lucky to have that kind of support growing up. And in fact, when I left high school and I left my foster parents' home, my foster father's parting words were just, no matter what you do, just live your life creatively. And it's really been the thing that stuck with me for my entire life, to remind myself that, the very nature of us being human beings, I think our function here on the earth is to be creatively expressive. We've just kind of lost connection with that.
Let's talk about what was going on during that time when you were making these types of transitions, because the world was different from the way the world is today. And when I say today, I'm even talking about 2000, 2001. I'm talking about just the climate itself, because Indigenous and a woman trying to get into the arts and doing anything, it was really extremely hard from when you were starting. What gave you the drive to continue and make sure that you took the roads that you needed to take and not being blocked by anybody or anything?
A lot of that has to do, again, with, the people who raised me. My mother had a crazy, almost to a fault kind of work ethic, really. I watched my foster parents work really, really hard. And in all of that, there was a lot of encouragement to never wait for someone to take care of you. To, if there was something that needed to be done, you went out and did it. But my real turning point, I think, for me, in terms of when I really started to look at taking more charge of creating my own work, or being more in control of my career, was some time I spent with an elder named Sam Ozamic, and I was complaining about the world, you know. It's like, yeah, there's no place for me and blah, blah, blah. And he just turned to me and he said, well, what are you going to do about it?
Wow.
And it, you know, and it really hit me. And I'm sure that people had said that to me before, but it was just something the way that Sam said it, and that maybe the time that I heard it. And I was like, yeah, right. No, he's right. Like, I can't sit and wait for the world to change. I have to be, what's that famous quote? Don't wait for change, be the change, right? So, and I decided that was what I needed to do. So, you know, it led me on a path of really being more proactive in terms of making sure that I was at the table for discussions. You know, if I was complaining about an organization, then why wasn't I on their board, or why wasn't I, you know, engaging in the conversation? Why wasn't I just trying to make my own work? Because, you know, why wait? Why wait for someone to do that for you?
But to be able to do that, though, you have to be prepared. What were the things that you were doing to prepare yourself for that? Because when opportunity knocks, you have to be ready for it. You just can't walk in and then go, okay, well, I'm in. I don't have to do anything. You have to do it. And also, as we know it, you got to do it better than the next person.
Yes, no, it's true. That's so true. That's so true. Oh my God. Yeah. I think there's a great amount of patience that I learned in terms of, you know, really, if you at first you don't succeed, try again is another, you know, great thing that comes to mind at the moment, where in so many instances when you're turned down, or you're, you know, you're not accepted, or there's, you know, just no place for you. I just didn't take no for an answer. I just tried to squeak out and, you know, find another place. I was also quite blessed too along the way in terms of having groups of people that I could work with. I mean, we are, no man is an island for sure. So, you know, along the way there were groups of people that, you know, we helped each other. We helped each other move forward. There was many opportunities that I was given to, you know, work in small groups, and like a theater company, Native Women Theater company called Turtle Gals Performance Ensemble, and really proud of the work that we did. My own company I have with my daughter now. And again, you know, just, yeah, I remember going over to Sandy Ross's house at one point, because she was the first Black president of Actra Toronto, and we were having tea, and I remember talking to her about just, you know, how do you keep going? And she just turned to me and she said, you just do. And I just was like, wow, okay, you know, you just do. But for me, it was, I don't know how to do anything else either. Like, I am an artist through and through. I think like an artist. I breathe like an artist. And, you know, I was pretty good at selling muffins at the Great Canadian Soup Company for a while, but, you know, all my other career choices were, you know, wasn't really greatly successful at them. So,
I was going to jump in. Let's talk about some of that, because, like I said, the resume is enormous. But what do you consider your first break that really helped the momentum going?
Oh boy, that's such an interesting question. Wow, that's a great question. I spent a lot of time focusing on training, and I trained in a number of different areas. And so I am a firm believer in training. I do believe that, you know, if you really want to know how to build a good set of cupboards, you have to master carpentry in order to do that. So as an artist, I really made sure that I studied with people that I was really interested in studying with, and I built up a really good foundation so that when there was an opportunity for me then to go and the world opened up a little bit, I had the toolkit. I had the tools that I needed in order to really jump in. I think in puppetry, my first big break came by working on with Jim Henson and Follow That Bird, which was one of the Muppet series films that was shot in Toronto, and that opened up that whole career for me. That was really incredible, and be able to train with Henson and Richard Hunt and all of those people to really understand at least television puppetry was huge for me, and opened up that whole career. And I think too, in terms of like my very first real big tour of a children's show, it was a very long tour. It was a Thompson Highway play that I did with Cascade Theatre, and man, those children's tours are hard, but are they ever great for actors training? Like you want to develop a relationship with your audience. The best kind of audience that you can learn how to do that is with children. So, I've been very blessed to do that. And then other things followed, small roles here and there in series, lots of short films, a great film by Armand Goussot called The Windigo Tale, which was it's such a great role. Doris was a fantastic role for me, and so it became accumulative, I guess, at one point. But
you also did Stratford too, correct?
I have, yeah. So I did The Breathing Hole in 2017. Oh my goodness, great. And the great thing about that play was that while I'm not Inuk, which was really the character that I was playing, and I know that when they do a revision of the play, if they ever do, then they will be hiring Inuk actors, as they should. But I had the puppeteering skills that were necessary to, and the acting skills that were necessary for the role at the time. And it was such an amazing experience for me to be able to bring my puppetry skills into that incredible show, as well as my acting chops. And I got to play a polar bear, which was pretty cool.
So and sorry for jumping in, but when did you make time then for a music career too? And congratulations on the Juno nominations that you had in the past also.
Yeah, thanks. I think, one of my biggest challenges always, and I am like my mother in that, is that I was never able to really decide on one particular stream. But I do find that all of the streams that I had in my earlier careers have all landed kind of in the same river now. So, I am a way better actor because of my understanding of music. I'm a better director because of my understanding of being an actor, and the puppeteering helps me be also a good director for film, because I understand, not as a director of photography, but I do understand a shot and the importance of the shot and the screen, and all of those things have helped me become the artist, the crazy wide berth artist that I am right now. But I'm thankful for all of the streams, and I do miss touring music. There's something so incredible about live music that's played. And who knows, maybe I do have more songs, and who knows, maybe I'll get back to that when I'm retired.
Well, when we use those terms, getting back to that, I mean, that's what we've been dealing with now for just over a year now with the COVID-19 and the way the arts have changed. When I use the term the arts, that means not just music, that means television, that means stage, that means in all of the aspects that you can think of. How do you think in Canada we're doing right now in trying to survive this? And will we be able to survive this?
I think we will be able to. I mean, I think the tenacity and the spirit of artists throughout our existence as human beings are probably the very reasons why we've survived as a human species in a lot of ways. I think the artist mind, what art brings, what creative expression brings to our existence is essential. And there's so much that's really been proven too in terms of where people have gone to, back to audiobooks, streaming content, listening to music, even walking out in nature, playing out, getting back to the idea of play is one of the things that I really like. My neighbors are they're such great parents. They're so amazing. And the kids are outside every day and they're playing every day and they're making up things. They're playing outside. They're making up little skits. Like, to get back to that idea of play is, I think, the bonus part of what I'm hoping will bring us out of this.
What would you like? And I apologize.
Yeah,
I apologize for that. I just want to ask, what would you like to also see the government do in helping? Because even though there's so many different initiatives that the government is doing, if you ask people, well, are you able to get those funds? It's almost like having to climb Mount Everest to get that. What do you suggest there? And if you could speak to whether it be the premier of this province or the prime minister of this country, what would you ask from them?
Wow, I would have to take a big, deep breath to prepare myself for a conversation with the premier of our province. But if I did, and I was able to do that, one of the, because I'm also an artist educator, and a long time ago, one of the things I did with some of my students, and my daughter did this when she was at the Etobicoke School for the Arts as well, is that we did a survey of people to say, like, just in a daily basis, just write down how many times you turn on the radio and listen to a song, how many times you see a billboard that required a graphic artist to make that design. Did you watch a movie that day? And just to track the people's general intersection with artistic expression during the day. Did they hear a story? Did they read a book to their child? And it was an extraordinary experience, because what people started to realize was that artistic expression and artists, we actually interact with artists and artistic work so much during the day, and yet it's really taken for granted. It's we don't think about the artists that have actually created the work that we have that intersection with. A pamphlet at the bank, like so much of the work that we have an intersection with on a daily basis requires an artist to make it or generate it, and that has great value. And so I would be really interested in having our politicians do a deep dive into an analysis in terms of what that value actually means. And because they think monetarily, it would be really lovely to actually look at what the color of that money really means. And this goes back even to, the mid-90s, where there was an organization that produced a booklet called The Color of Your Money, which is more to do with diversity and inclusivity, but really it looked at the monetary value of artists in society, because we contribute so much to society and we're not valued for the contribution that we give, which is, I think, one of the biggest and saddest things that I find about our current existence. I'd love to see that change. I'd like to see the idea of value change.
Absolutely. Even though we physically can't be with each other, what suggestions do you have for folks out there who are into the arts? Because even though, again, physically it's extremely hard to be there, as we speak, Ontario, of course, is in the 4,000s now when it comes to COVID-19, which, who would ever have thought something like that? I look at that, somewhere else, maybe in the U.S. or, one of the states in the U.S. But when we have the technology, though, to still be able to see each other and to hear each other, what do you suggest for some folks in trying to get through? I mean, a lot of people are doing Zoom things and, Facebook Live. Is there anything else that you could suggest? And when it comes to being creative, one thing I have noticed, though, and a lot of artists I've spoken with, when it comes to making their music videos and stuff, they have been very creative with the very little space that they have.
I know. It's so amazing, isn't it? That's why I find artists so inspiring because, certainly a story can be told, the simplicity of a story can be told in its simplest form and still have great power and still have great meaning and still have great impact. I have to be honest to say that I've really struggled myself. Like I've really struggled as an artist. My, entire year of work, my entire year of work went down. I'm not incredibly tech savvy. Trying to transform my work into a digital platform is a bit of a mystery to me. All of those things. So what I focused on is spending as much time as I possibly can outside walking, and I know that that's not a direct answer to your question, but what that has really helped me to do is to just remain as grounded as I possibly can. The other thing that was recommended to me by one of the healers that I go to, she said, just concentrate on getting your toolkit in order. Like, make sure that your tools in your toolkit are sharp, because when this does transform and we are able to get back to whatever sense of it we can get back to, you'll be ready to go. You'll have those things in your pocket. So write those poems, write that play, practice that guitar, learn a new instrument, and as much as possible, just be very kind to yourself and go inside and find beautiful things inside. And that's what I've been trying to focus on, because I do go through moments where I feel great despair or despondency, and I realize that the best tool that I have right now is my newfound ability to really pull myself out of that, because it's hard. It's really hard, and it's harder for some than others, for sure. It's one of our big struggles right now is to reach for joy.
I agree with everything you said, and I've been trying to do the same thing myself. So great advice. Before we wrap this up, and I think you're the perfect person to ask this, and this is kind of off topic, but I'd love to hear your comments, though, and what has been going on in the last 48 hours in the United States with the siege that happened. And I agree with when they say, yes, terrorists taking over the Capitol, and what the president, who is still president right now, and what he's done. I want to get your thoughts on everything that you've seen and your witness and your feelings towards all this, because I'm watching this, and I'm watching because I don't want to miss anything. But for me personally, it just sickens me. I wanted to get your thoughts on this.
Yeah, it's so disheartening, for sure. I would agree with the term terrorists. And I would also say that, what they call the founding of this country, which always still makes me kind of roll my eyes, was based on the very principles that, some of those folks still feel that they have so for me, it's all based on an assumption of superiority. And the assumption of superiority and the belief system that very deep rooted system that has been in place for a century, it's never gone away. It's never as we all know, it's never gone away. It's always been present. It's always been something that we have had to brush up against, stand up to, fight against, lose against in some instances, right? So it doesn't surprise me that it's still here, but the Late Show, so I can't remember his name. Oh my God, I'm having one of those moments. But, one of the things he's like, we all saw this coming. We all knew for the past 4 years that this was a potential, and we all saw it coming, and we all knew that it was inevitable, I think, because again, it just, that deep-rooted assumption of superiority has never gone away. And that's the thing we need to crack. We need to crack that open. We need to examine that. We need to, and we've always questioned it, but it's now time for the whole world to really look at what that really means and what that is. And that's going to take great courage on everyone's part. But it'll also mean that, some people are going to have to move over and make space. And they don't want to. They're trying to hang on to something that kind of power that they've had for just so many generations. And I'm hopeful, though. I am really hopeful. I see great power in our youth. I see a shift and a change. There are things happening now that I wasn't sure I would be able to see in my lifetime.
I agree with
that we all, worked towards to try to achieve, and now I'm actually seeing this change and this shift, and I'm like, wow, this is, because I wasn't sure that I would be able to see this, and so that's the thing I'm clinging to right now, is just the hope of our youth, the power of our collective consciousness. But oh man, I don't know. I'm more power to you. I can't watch stuff. I watch it for 3 or 4 seconds and then I have to turn it on. It just infuriates me so much. It just boils up inside me.
Oh no, and believe me, there's
going to be, it off.
Yeah, no, and believe me, there's going to be at some point where I'm literally going to need a cleansing, because I can feel it, when I'm trying to sleep or when my other thoughts are coming in. So, no, I absolutely agree with you with that. I do need a cleansing from this. But I just don't want to miss anything, because I want to make sure that I'm seeing this in real time. But one other question I'd like to ask you, too, is, even though we are talking about what we're seeing in the U.S., what are your feelings about that type of attitude here in Canada? Because even though, like, when you have the premier saying that we don't have those kind of people thinking that way here, I mean, I know myself as a Black person, I see it.
Well, I think you've experienced it all your life, probably, and your family has too, and so have your ancestors. And the whole founding of this country is based on the same assumption of superiority that the states were. So yes, absolutely, we have those people here. I just really hope that there's a shift and a change in what's happening in the states that sends out a clear message that it's no longer acceptable before something happens in this country, because it's I mean, from an Indigenous perspective, the Colton Boushie case a few years ago, and the incredible racism that happens around land and land ownership, and it's so complicated. It's just such a complicated conversation, but it really could blow at any time, and I just really hope that it doesn't.
Amen to that. One of the things that I'm really missing is I've been so used to going to the Toronto Actra Awards gala, and I've been missing it, and I love doing that the little they put us in for our cameras to take video interviews and things like that. And is there any word yet that if there's a chance that they could be doing that this year? And also, what are your plans for 2021?
Oh, boy. Okay, so it definitely will be a virtual celebration this year for sure. And so I'm going to miss the dance floor, because it was it was so fantastic just to be able to, celebrate excellence and to celebrate artists and to dance the night away, which was just so much fun with, so many other members and people from the industry. So I'm going to miss that part the most. As far as this year coming up, so a lot of things are still on hold. There's so much uncertainty. As an artist educator, I am currently working at the National Theatre School. I was supposed to be in Montreal this month, but because of the lockdown curfew, I'll just stay put in Toronto. So part of our programs are going back online, and some of the work still happens in the studio. But that's been a great place for me to land. I love teaching. I love the idea of celebrating and guiding the next generation of artists. Got some incredible artists coming out of that school, and they're all deep in conversation too, with some really great things, and much more reflective now, of course, in terms of diversity, inclusion, in terms of the student body. So that's such a joy and a beautiful thing to see at a school like a conservatory program like NTS. So that's been my main focus and will be sort of for the next little while. But I'm also writing plays. Like I said, I've always got a song or two in the back of my head. So just plunking down on the piano every now and then and letting something come out. And really just trying to focus on keeping myself as healthy and mind, body, spirit healthy as possible. Those are my things right now, yeah.
Very important. Social media is the place to go to follow you. Where do we go to follow?
Well, I've got I'm terrible at Instagram, but I do have an Instagram account. But my daughter helps me with it, actually, to be really honest with you, like full disclosure. But I know that I have to get more active on my my Instagram account and get back on Twitter. I sort of took a break over the holidays just because I was just really overwhelmed with everything and just felt I really needed to sort of disengage. But Twitter, Instagram, I have a Facebook page. I also have a website. Come to think of it, I need to update that too. But both for myself and also for my company, Paper Canoe Projects, which is a website that talks about my theater, the theater work that I've created and continue to create.
Thank you so much for this interview. Congratulations on your honor, which is much deserved. Thank you so much for the doors that you've opened for so many people, the courage to continue in what you've done in the past and continue to do. Thank you for the comments that you've made about what's going on in the world today. And I am so hoping that when that Actra Toronto award event finally gets to be where we can meet up, I'm dragging you on the dance floor. That I'm making a promise on.
I'll be there. I love dancing. I'll be there.
Same here. Thank you again for the interview. Thank you so much for this.
Great to talk to you.
Take care. Have a great weekend. Bye-bye.
You betcha. Bye.